the charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Blackbox Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham, Alabama. Blackbox Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. Multi-service fuel card, the industry's first fuel card, was created by an over-the-road truck driver in 1978 to offer a safe, simple, and cost-effective way to handle fuel and trucking expenses. Initially, it addressed safety concerns of carrying cash on the road. Today, it combats advanced fraud with best-in-class technical and personal support. WireBee is an AI-powered call automation platform built for freight brokers, designed to screen every inbound call in real time, block spoofing, phishing, and double brokering scams, verify compliance through integrations with FMCSA, Highway, and My Carrier Portal, and automatically connect brokers with qualified, vetted carriers, all before a human ever picks up the phone. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. How's it going?
Going good, man. How about you? How's things in Alabama?
It's good, man. It's been very rainy here lately, and then end of month push, so things are busy around here. And last week in Columbia, right? Back to the States.
I think so. I mean, yeah, that's the missing golf. You can't really golf here, so definitely missing that. I think Columbia's a little bit more fun in the wintertime when it's freezing in Minnesota, but Yeah, shout out to our sponsors, Multi-Service Fuel Card. We say this every week, but I mean, I think they're the longest fuel card out there. Been around since 1978. They've been around longer than, both Will and I have been alive by a significant period of time. Brokers can have fuel cards too. Patricia, Jessica are great. They're doing a lot of work with the BCS as well. And then WireBee, that's our newest sponsor. We're actually going to have them on the show today. So we're pumped to talk about WireBee. They got a great product. We're super excited for that one. We won't say too much on that since we're talking about that on the show today. Blackbox, never heard of that. Never heard of them. Are they a new sponsor?
Who knows, man? Yeah, Blackbox Logistics. If anybody's looking for a W-2 broker job, we're hiring. Birmingham, Alabama. I hear that those guys are really good at moving open deck freight. So if you happen to have any, feel free to DM me. I will respond to that DM.
HT Ships, if you're looking to be an agent, I'd love to talk to you. Sales Dash CRM, Josh has been, I think, the longest sponsor of the show, back going about a year now. He's really grown his company, Freight Specific CRM. We have agents that use it. Will's companies uses it. Josh, Will and I both met Josh in person. A great guy, great company. And then brought to you by our banner sponsor, TAFS, top 10 factoring company. Kansas City based, Ryan and Rob, fantastic. If you're looking for factoring, I mean, it's a difficult trucking market right now. Factoring, is needed a lot, and they're great guys to do it. So definitely recommend reaching out to them.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm pumped about this week, not only because it's a new sponsor, but also we're combining two very hot topics in freight right now. So we've got fraud, very prevalent, right? And then AI, huge buzz. So we're kind of diving into two at once. So we'll go ahead and bring Solomiya onto stage. Hey, how are you?
Hey guys, how's it
going?
Pretty well, thank you.
Doing good.
I'm in sunny Cleveland, Ohio. Probably not as warm as down in Columbia.
Yeah, probably not. Cleveland reminds me a lot of Minnesota. It's kind of cool. I don't think we've had anyone on the show from the Cleveland areas. Cleveland, is that like kind of a big? There are a lot of brokerages out there. I don't know much about the kind of landscape of Cleveland in logistics.
Actually, I would say it's a fairly large transportation hub. So my background's in freight, and that's kind of how we came to be within this market. And our first customer is out of the Cleveland area because of some of the folks that I know up here.
Yeah, I want to say there's a lot of manufacturing in Cleveland and just that area in general.
Yeah, a lot of steel and things of that nature.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we've got some customers up that way. Well, yeah, give us kind of a rundown on your background for those that don't know you, aren't familiar, kind of pre-WireBee and how WireBee came to be, the inception, and then from where you started to where you guys are now.
Yeah. So my name is Solomiya. I'm one of the co-founders at the WireBee team. Prior to WireBee, I was in freight, so I've been in the logistics industry for a bit over a decade. Started out in trucking. So my family owns and operates a 40-unit trucking company out of the Cleveland area. And I started out on that side of the world, so a lot of dry van freight with them, kind of, as a young kid, would help around the office, dispatch, things like that. So I've kind of done all the roles within the trucking side. Past that, I've been involved in 3PL, warehousing, and freight brokerage. From starting, a small freight brokering company on my own, failing to relearning how to try to make that kind of business successful. And that's part of why we have a good understanding of what our customers need, and our customers being freight brokers here at WireBee.
Yeah, before we dive too much deeper or past this, I do want to ask. So you have experience from all these different sides of the industry. You've got carrier side, warehousing, 3PL. Which is your favorite out of those three, and why?
That's a great question. I think
my
my role within, in any company, my favorite part is working with customers directly and being able to solve for real life issues. So I think it doesn't matter what side you're on, as long as you're having impact. I think that's my favorite part.
That was a great answer. Awesome. So from the brokerage space to WireBee. So you mentioned, I think that's very important to kind of have that experience if maybe starting the brokerage and then it not working out. Because I think if and when you're starting something, it's hard, right? So my experience with starting Blackbox, there's a lot of trials or whatnot, and maybe that set you up to be better positioned for this WireBee run. Would you agree, disagree on that?
Absolutely. When I was attempting to start a brokerage, the the tools that were out there are not nearly as were not nearly as great as they are today. And at that point, I don't think there were as many conferences and tools available to even learn about the technologies that were out there. So everything that you were searching or researching for was kind of like a big black box. Um, so if I were to start today, I would definitely go to a few conferences to learn about the tech out there and talk to some people in the space to see how I could better equip myself to do the brokerage the right way.
Yeah, I like that you said it's like a big black box, because black box logistics is like the connection there. No, 100%. And I think that is one of the great things about living and being in 2025 is all the information and tools that are out there. At the same time, there are so much information, so many tools. How do you decipher which ones to use for your organization, for your company? I mean, even for us here, it seems like there's a new product that we're kind of exploring every day. What I like about WireBee, and hopefully you can expand on this, it seems pretty easy use case, right? It's fraud, it's prevalent, everybody deals with it, all brokerages, right? And then it's pre-screening the calls, so you're not having to do that manually, correct?
Yeah, so we're working on the inbound calls, right? What WireBee does is help our broker customers identify who's calling them and screen those calls and streamline them and really just make that carrier communication more effective. So we're handling the calls with our AI, we're checking their compliance, load availability, we're verifying the interactions, and we're helping prevent some of that fraud by integrating with some of the platforms that you would typically be using as a freight broker. So the TMSs, compliance tools, load boards, and really helping brokers just trying to cover their shipments faster.
Yeah. So if I'm a broker in the market exploring using a tool such as WireBee, how do you guys kind of toe the line between because everybody wants to be compliant and safe, right? We don't want I'll
Mhm.
for myself. I don't want a scammer, a fraudster on my load, right? At the same time, I need capacity. So where's the line between being too rigid and like, does the company draw that line per use case with WireBee, or is that something that you guys are doing?
So actually, it's quite customizable. So we try to provide you with as much information as possible, and then have you tell us what kind of risk tolerance you're able to handle, and then that's how many of the calls we're going to pass through to you. So if we're onboarding a customer who also uses my carrier packets for onboarding and vetting, if they don't want to talk to anyone who's failing their my carrier packet assessment levels, we could just simply decline all those calls. We could decline, I mean, really any call that you tell us to, whether it's a failed assessment or an in review assessment. We could decline calls if they're not a carrier calling in that's in your network, and then a combination of these things. So it could be as rigid as we're declining 60% of the calls, or we won't decline any calls, but you'll have that information, and then you could pick and choose who you want to talk to first to help you, you know, have a more meaningful impactful conversation from that first call in the shipment.
That's nice. So if and
Yes.
when, go ahead, Matt.
No, I'm sorry. I might be, you never know in Colombia with the Wi-Fi, so I might be on a little bit of a delay. I was just curious, do you guys work with like Highway as well, or how's your product kind of like work alongside, Highway? I know Highway is a big player in the carrier vetting platform. I don't do this very often, but because I kind of know what our owners may or may not be interested in, but I actually told them to listen to this podcast because I think this could be something that possibly could be useful for our agents as well. But how do you guys kind of work alongside like Highway? I know you mentioned my carrier packets. It's kind of similar how you work alongside someone like Highway.
Yeah, so we're an official partner with Highway. We are completely integrated. So for any potential customers who are using Highway for carrier onboarding and vetting, we would integrate the two systems, and then we would use your highway data to see how the carriers are stacking up in your highway assessment.
So basically, if a carrier, failed through highway, it would basically be blocking those calls from coming into the agents if there was a rule set for that.
Correct. Yep. If they're failing through highway, if you guys have like a highway do not use list you want us to pull from, we could do all of that. Highway has a great integration with us, so we're able to do anything live. So if your things change in highway, if of the criteria is shifting, then we're pulling that data in real time.
And are you able to kind of, maybe this is kind of going too into the weeds, but like, for example, we have some agents that are using, doing like, box truck, and they don't have ELD, so they're failing highway, but they're doing overrides, through highway. So those type of
Mhm.
fails, like obviously those agents would want those calls coming through, but a, double broker, drive in carrier, they wouldn't want those calls. So is able to filter kind of like which failed rules come through, like to filter, maybe box truck carriers that don't have ELD to still filter those calls, but block all the, other carriers that are failing through highway.
Yeah, so we could fail or we could pass calls through depending on that more granular criteria. So if you have like a list of box truck carriers that are in your network and you want them to go through, we'll be able to pass those calls through.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak on behalf of HT Shifts, but from what little I know, with how sophisticated you guys are in your owners, I'm sure that y'all would be able to set up some really cool filtering rules, especially working alongside WireBee.
Yeah, no, I told our owners I don't do this on all of the tech shows because I kind of have an idea of what our owners may or may not be interested, because we have a lot of proprietary tech, proprietary TMS, proprietary tracking. But this I told them to watch this show because I think it's kind of an interesting, something I hadn't heard, because there's a lot of AI. Will and I were talking about this, but there's a lot of AI in the carrier sales world. A lot of great companies that are doing carrier sales, but I don't think there's too many that are kind of in your space focusing more on the AI vetting, or maybe there's not, maybe there are, and I just don't know about them. But I hear constantly about the carrier AI sales, but I don't really hear too much about what you guys are doing. So I think it's kind of a cool niche and differentiator.
Yeah. I mean, my take on it is that with the AI space, and I'm no expert by any means, but from what I've been exposed to, it seems like there's a lot of companies that are maybe tackling lots of use cases simultaneously and aren't super focused in on one specific ones that might be able to do a whole lot well, but not anything super well, right? What I like about WireBee, it seems like it's pretty focused on a specific thing that you're trying to accomplish, right? It's not spread too thin where things fall through the cracks. And it seems like with AI, if and when you give it room to run, there's more room for exposure and mistakes.
Yeah, we try to take our customers' requests very seriously, and some have, like to your point, Matt, some have proprietary information, and that even goes to the fraud vetting aspect. So we have customers with whom we've worked along side by side to integrate to be able to pull their own fraud detection metrics into our platform specifically to them and their needs. So it's an interesting journey for sure, but I think if your customer's coming to you and they have a certain set of rules they want to work with in order to talk to the potential vendors, then we're happy to accommodate and um, provide that data to them in real time.
So back to the inception of WireBee and your experience in the industry, were you experiencing fraud and then you thought, hey, somebody needs to do something about this, and that's kind of how it came to be? Or what was kind of the light bulb moment to start this company?
So when we were looking into WireBee within the logistics space, we were approaching it we've actually done a pivot. We were looking into the financial transactions side of things. So think more of factoring, you know, and things of that nature. As we were doing our product market fit and research and talking to brokers within the Cleveland area to start. Um, we realized that there was a big communication gap. And my background, along with my partner's background, Andre, who has um, his whole, like 20 years of experience in voice over IP, we realized that that is a gap that we were able to kind of play a good role in trying to fix and help solve. And our very first product that we came out with was the Color ID spoofing detection. And from there, we grew it to be the carrier communication platform that it is now. And of course, we're still adding a ton of functionality to it.
Very neat. So you didn't come from a tech background. It sounds like it's logistics centric, and then you kind of saw an issue, and then even or you had one use case, then saw a better fit it and pivoted to it. So I think that's admirable in itself.
Yeah, I do not have a tech background. My partner Andre's background's in voice over IP, which is, part of the telephony piece of our product. And then my second co-founder, Alex, he's our chief technology officer. So he does have the background in technology, and he's behind a lot of the code that is written for what we have here.
So how are you guys getting this product? We talked a lot about the tech side. How are you guys kind of trying to get this out on the sales approach? I mean, we were talking pre-show. It sounds like you guys have a lot of great opportunities in the pipeline. You already have a good amount of brokerages you're working with. What's kind of you guys' sales strategy to kind of get this product and message out? We've had a couple AI products on, companies on the last month, and that was a question I asked last week because it must be difficult because there's so much noise online about AI, what's real, what's not, how are you guys kind of like going about, a sales strategy and kind of, reaching out to different, brokerages?
So some of the things that work the best are of course word of mouth. So that's not a strategy of, hey, let me tell my customers to talk about us. But just last week, a customer of ours posted a TikTok. He has a good following in the logistics space, and I had a couple of people reach out to me because they listened to it. That's the most impactful is the customer testimonials, but also being in places where your customers are and they're not necessarily distracted by other things. So going to some of those maybe smaller conferences, putting on webinar sessions where you're educating people and they're there specifically to learn about what you're doing, and just putting your content out there and putting your name out there and staying consistent with your messaging so people start to understand what it is that you do and who you are. I think all those things play a big role in it, along with some of the more mainstream sales and marketing that, things that I'm sure you've heard of before.
Yeah. So what I appreciate on your LinkedIn profile where it says experience since WireBee, it's WireBee, and the description is very, very simple. It's helping freight brokers fight fraud one phone call at a time. So keeping the message, it's simple, concise. I like that. I mean, that sticks with you, right? Instead of this long, like 4-paragraph, really getting in the weeds, and then people are just confused, right? Especially some of the AI stuff. I don't know. I've gotten off demos before, and I've been like truly confused. I'm like, what are we actually like doing here? Like, what, you know what I mean? There's so many different areas. So I think that's from the outside looking in, that seems important.
Yeah. And to be fair, some of those companies I'm sure that you've demoed, they have very complex products and it's by design. So I think we're just tackling one major problem right now, and we're happy that it comes off as an easy thing to understand.
Yeah.
It must be help too, because I mean, I work for a brokerage that's very tech forward. Obviously, Will's company is very tech forward, but the logistics industry as a whole, there's some brokerages that are still using Excel. Very very behind in technology in general. So I'm sure it's depending on the brokerage you're talking to. Having a simple product can make a massive difference.
Yeah, I was actually quite shocked to learn, because I do have the freight brokers who are friends of mine that I've talked to in the last few months that have told me that they don't have a carrier vetting tool at all. that they send out broker carrier agreements the old-fashioned way. I didn't know it was still a thing, right? Even on the carrier side, we're always seeing the things come in from highway, MCP, or RMIS. So it's really shocking that those companies exist.
Are they doing it via paper packet? That's crazy.
Or maybe like DocuSign, I'm not sure. But I
Yeah.
don't know how you could do that and manually keep up with the carrier's compliance and be able to see if that carrier's insurance is still good to go. So I
Yeah.
think it's quite a risk that you're taking as a business owner.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. You probably see because we see on LinkedIn, we see all the freight, centric tech companies out there, all the brokerages that are talking about tech, but there's so many small companies no one's heard of, is not really active on LinkedIn, that, like you said, are still doing things very, 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 very old school. I mean, there's 20, you guys know better than me, 26,000 MCs out there right now, 27,000 brokerages, something in the 20,000. So, yeah, it's a big marketplace.
So where I started, it was I don't want to drop names, but where I started a brokerage, we didn't use a carrier vetting tool, actually. Well, I say that. Okay, let me expand. So we had something that onboarded them, so it cuts up with the insurance or whatnot, but we had no real way to detect fraud, right? So it used to be anarchy. Like every shipment, I used to run these cross country loads. They'd always fall off, rebooking them 7-8 times. I remember talking to managers, and they're saying it's just a part of it. It's just brokering freight. That's how it is. And then we started black box and got exposed to some tools. And in hindsight, that's not part of it, right? It doesn't have to be part of it. So yes, it does make you wonder. And then thinking back, when we left that brokerage to start ours, we were doing a dispatching company, so booking loads on behalf of owner operators, small fleets. And there was a couple of times where we received a paper setup packet, and even then, and it was 2020, which not that long ago, but still it was crazy. We were looking around, so they just sent us a paper packet. Yeah, crazy. Wild times.
Yeah, it still exists and probably by the hundreds, maybe thousands. To your point, Matt, there are 27,000 active brokerage MCs out there.
Okay, good. I was close. So I guess in terms of, are you guys, I know we're talking about both, you had a background obviously in the, trucking world as well. Are you guys kind of looking at maybe developing like a similar product for, trucking companies, or how have like trucking companies reacted to kind of your vetting tool? Did you guys kind of get some input from them too? Or I figured maybe just touch on, since you have such a background, obviously their family having a trucking company, it's a product for brokers, but maybe just kind of a little bit of kind of the trucker perspective here.
Yeah, we actually used my dispatchers in the trucking side for the family's company to test our AI, just to make sure that we're doing a good enough job for them to have a decent experience when they call in, so that they're not sitting there frustrated. And we continue to ask them questions on a very regular basis as we develop different processes within WireBee, even as they, not a customer, but they're just calling in through our platform. We want them to not get so upset that they're not going to call back, right? And yes, for sure, having a solution for trucking companies is something on the radar, specifically because of my background and because I think there are a lot of use cases that could still be developed for the trucking companies, especially those small, medium-sized fleets.
Yeah, well, I want to say that the tool itself helps the trucking companies through the sense that, so from my understanding or exposure to it, there's two main types of, well, we'll just stick to double brokering for simplicity's sake. There's other types of fraud or whatnot that I'm sure you guys are preventing. But if and when a load is double brokered, the two that I've seen is, one, it's a semi-sustainable double brokerage, right? I'm taking the load from broker, and then I'm going to try to rebook a carrier at a lower rate and run that as long as I can. Maybe I'm factoring them, but I'm actually paying the carriers. And then if and when time runs out, I get a bunch of freight cards, then I'm not going to pay them the last 30 days. And the second, I'm taking the load from broker A for, say, 4,000. I'm going on the load boards, posting it for 6,000. I'm just never going to pay any of the carriers. So if and when that broker, the double broker, is posting the load, they had to get it from a broker in the first place. So if that fraud's deflecting them. They're not getting load originally to then go rebroker it. So, I mean, I think that they benefit from it in that sense, that less of the loads are likely hitting the truck stops and DATs for them to I mean, because ultimately they pay the biggest price on the double brokering, because they're usually the ones that are left out with nothing to show for the load that they ran.
Right. Yeah, it's very hard to collect. Just knowing what happens if you end up being on the carrier side, the legitimate carrier end of the double brokering case is that you're likely to just never see the money for that shipment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough deal.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like, how does a call end? Like, if a call doesn't get through to to the broker because it doesn't pass their system, how does a call end? Is there like some automated message like, sorry, they're not taking your call, or it just doesn't dial through? Or it's probably a silly question, but I was kind of curious.
It's customizable, and we advise our customers not to customize it to say anything rude to the carriers, but that's completely up to you. So we tell them if we're hanging up on them because you don't meet the criteria, we say thanks, we can't work with you at the moment. If we're hanging up the call because it's a shipment that's been covered, then we'll say just that. And then we also give an ability for our customers to hang up manually on calls, and that could be for a variety of reasons. And in the manual hangups, you have an ability to type out a custom message in real time.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So I want to say something about that, and then I want to ask a completely separate question. But yeah, so as far as the hanging up part, what we've experienced or what I've seen is if and when you are like, if it is an actual fraudster and you're hanging up on them, if you're really rude to them, they're going to go out of their way to get your load and to like let you know about it. Like if a double broker calls in, somebody's just unhinged, says something like awful to them, they might wait a couple weeks, but they're going to get one of your loads and they're going to bring it up. They're going to take advantage of it. But what I wanted to ask, and it's completely different, and we kind of touched on it, is just overall market sentiment. So from beginning of WireBee to today, and correct me if I'm wrong, but about 3 years.
So we actually went live at the TAA of last year. So 2024 April is when we first announced our product, and that is when it was quite rudimentary. We were just doing the caller ID spoofing. September of last year is when we started to get paying customers.
Okay, so for the year or so, have you seen market sentiment shift, people being more open to exploring this? Because again, we've mentioned it, I mean, countless times in this podcast. And again, our last two guests were people with AI tools. It's more prevalent. And it seems like maybe people are coming around to it, the new tech. Have you experienced that? Does it seem like, I don't know if you guys do any cold calling, but maybe at the beginning, people were AI where you talk about hanging up and now they're more likely to hear you out?
So you're talking from the broker perspective?
Yeah, I'm talking about just in general, the sentiment or acceptance to hear out an AI tool, or you see people being more likely to use it from where you started to where you are today, just people's reaction to an AI tool and actually deploying it, and not so much the people that are online a lot and maybe have that knowledge or exposure, but some of these more people like with the paper packet, like some of your friends that you were talking about that run the brokerages with the paper packet, maybe considering using an AI tool.
Yeah. I think with our focus on potential fraud prevention, it automatically piques people's interest and gives us the okay to take 5 minutes of their time to explain what we're doing, and then whether they're open-minded to trying it, that's up to them. But I think the fraud aspect has really been a key in us being able to have those first conversations with people. And I think that will continue as fraud will only get more sophisticated with AI as an availability to fraudsters.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we had Craig Fuller on the podcast, and he brought that up, that as AI advances and it's used to combat this stuff, it's also being used on the other end to actually conduct fraud. And I think that's a point that I hadn't considered until he brought it up. I don't think that many people do consider that. It's already such a big, massive problem, and I hate to say it, but I mean, like they're making a lot of money doing it.
Especially in today's economy and then the way that freight is right now. It's a soft market. Trucking companies are going out of business. A lot of people are growing frustrated, and on their way out, they think, well, maybe I could just make a couple of bucks and be done with this.
Yeah, and then also it doesn't seem like there's a lot of recourse or repercussions, punishment for doing this sort of thing. It seems like most people get away pretty free on it. Um, so with the numbers and the fraud, so it seems like there's different variables that will prevent a carrier from getting through, right?
Mhm.
But if it's flagged for like confirmed fraudster, which I always wonder because, like I said, it doesn't seem like there's much enforcement. Is there anybody that is looking into those people? So say you're collecting a bunch of people, hey, confirmed double brokers, scammers, whatnot. Is there any agency or anybody in the government, anybody that's actually taking action to maybe go investigate these people, or is it unfortunately for now it's just kind of we're just going to block them from getting access to the loads?
I think the TIA is doing a good job in advocating for the whole industry's behalf and talking to Capitol Hill and making sure that they're understanding of how big of an issue this is and trying to come up with actionable solutions. There are individuals out there like Dale Prex who are really pushing for change and legislation, and I think um, more people like him need to band together and get change to happen on the government scale and not just companies, right? Like, and we as companies need to work together with um, with the nonprofits and governments as well.
Yeah, 100%. I did see somebody got busted in California maybe a couple weeks ago. I don't have much
Yeah,
beyond that, but I saw there was a big raid and they had lots of nice things, G wagons parked out front or whatnot. So that was good to see. But yeah, unfortunately, it is super prevalent.
yeah, I saw that. I think it was like a lot of technology type of freight
Mhm.
that they're stealing,
I think.
which
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so it seems like so thankfully, I don't want to say thankfully, primarily what Black Box my brokerage moves is raw materials. It's not high value freight, right? So it's not we're not moving truckloads of Apple iPhones or this stuff that really gets targeted for the theft. If anything, it's just like line haul risk, like actual double brokering. But that's a whole different animal, right? When you're talking about moving a truckload of very valuable goods, which we do move some copper, which is at theft risk, but for the most part, we don't have to worry about it as much as some of the bigger players or some people that kind of focus on that high value freight. I can only imagine.
Yeah, we recently had an example of our customer where they move more high valued freight, and their client, the shipper, had one of their shipments stolen while using another broker. So when they went through our system, they saw that the person that the carrier that was stealing the cargo, they'd actually called in to try to book freight with them as well, but WireBee was able to block all those calls, and so they never booked shipments with them. And so hopefully we prevented more cargo theft in this example, but it really is crazy how much of an issue this has become and how many shipments are getting stolen, if not double brokered.
Yeah. Do you guys have any way is there any way to do people report shipment stolen to any sort of database? So say freight broker shipment stolen, is there a place to go log that besides like Carrier 401 or something like that, where you guys could use that as a leads list? I mean, just wondering, because I don't know. It's almost like you have this tool to prevent this, then you see somebody just had a load stolen. It's like, well, easy fix.
Yeah, I think again going back to private companies working with governments, I think there needs to be some consortium where everyone bands together and has some kind of free database where that should be shared.
Yeah, that's actually a really good side business idea. Some kind of just website for people to log that, similar to a Carrier 401. Maybe not. Fleeting thought.
Maybe someone listening will take that idea up.
Yeah, who knows? Well, awesome. We've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything that you want to talk about as far as WireBee or anything else that we haven't gone over?
No, we encourage all our potential customers to really do their due diligence and find out what they need, what is lacking in their tech stack for really trying to lock up their company and prevent that, fraud from happening, whether it's a tool like WireBee or tracking or some kind of a tracking device installed within the shipment itself. There's a lot of things out there, but every use case is different. So I think it takes every broker out there, every carrier out there to do their own due diligence and talk to thought leaders and learn about what is out there and see how it fits their company. Right? Not every tool out there is going to, like, WireBee is not going to be perfect for every broker. And I understand that. But I really do think that if you try to better your business in this regard, then the overall industry and fraud margins will go down and we'll all be better off for it.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing to consider for anybody out there listening is the money spent versus the money saved. So if and when you have a shipment stolen of high value versus the cost for a vetting tool or product, not even to mention the time saved, which you could likely calculate per employee for the calls blocked, seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, definitely a important cost benefit analysis to be done.
Yeah, it should be a pretty easy one, really. Just thinking about it on top of my head. Well, Matt, do you have any final things that you want to ask? We're kind of to the end of our time here.
Yeah, you guys, we all covered a lot. I enjoyed talking about it, and I've enjoyed following guys following your journey, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. And for anyone listening, if you want to learn more, go to our website. It's wirebee.com. Fill out a form, and we're happy to talk about what we could do for you.
Awesome. We'll also upload this to YouTube and Spotify tomorrow. We'll post it out and we'll add that link. We'll also tag you. So if anybody wants to get in touch, please do. We'll have to do it again. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
Thanks guys.
All right.
That was fun. I like their product. It's not a very saturated marketplace that they're in, where there's a lot of tech that's quite saturated, quite competitive. They kind of found a niche. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, man. I was planning on having a relaxing night, but now my gears are kind of going. I kind of want to go do some research on fraud, see how much is stolen, see if there's any database. I was kind of joking about that side idea about the website, but who knows? I really enjoyed the episode, learned a lot, and it's definitely got me thinking.
Yeah, 100%. Well, shout out to our sponsors again. Multi-Service Fuel Card, been around since 1978. Patricia, Jessica, great. Brokers can have fuel cards too. WireBee, obviously, we just talked about that the whole show. Great company for fighting fraud using AI. Black Box Logistics, never heard of them. HT Ships, if you're looking to be an agent, give me a call. Sales CRM, our OG sponsor, Josh and Drew are great over there. Freight Specific CRM, brought to you by Taft's Top 10 Factoring Company. Great rates, great customer service, and reach out to Ryan or Rob.
Yeah, 100%. All right, awesome. Well, thanks everybody that tuned in. We'll have the Dog of the Week out tomorrow, and we'll be back at it next week. And if you're tuning in live, it will be uploaded to Spotify and YouTube tomorrow.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
See you.